I'm Courtney Fallon, and welcome to The Game Plan on Reach TV, your insider guide to this week's key NFL action. In The Game Plan, I tap into the Bleav podcast network to bring you the most important information you need to know for this week's big games. Let's go. And we are down to 4. Welcome to the conference championship round of the NFL playoffs on The Game Plan. To go over the big news of the week, I'm joined by the Jesse Holley from the Bleav in Cowboys podcast. Jesse's been on the show before. He's a veteran. You ready to play 3 and out?
Let's do it.
Okay, Jesse, you know the deal. First down, new head coach alert. Brian Callahan, who has been rumored to be the new head coach of the Titans. Is this a good fit?
I want to say yes. The only issue I have is he didn't call plays in Cincinnati. That was Zach Taylor that called the plays there. So I know that we get enamored and we get fixated at these guys that falling off the trees that come from the Shanahans and the McVays of the world. But I'm going to just say we'll see before if I think this is the right call.
Okay. Yeah, also because Derrick Henry, he said all his goodbyes to the Titans organization. You're not going to have that workhorse there at running back, but I'll take your word for it. I understand everything that you're saying. Second down here, Deebo Samuel doesn't have a fracture in his shoulder, but he does have a serious injury. How much does this hurt the 49ers offense that he is not 100% on the field?
Oh, it hurts it tremendously. Anytime the Niners have had issues, it's been because of the absence of Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel. Deebo can beat you in the backfield. He can beat you in the screen. He can beat you on a slant. He can beat you on a go route. It's just so many things that he does when he's on the football field that allows other guys to be open. So not having Deebo is a huge chunk out of the 49ers offense.
Yeah.
I think they go into this game with 2 game plans. You go in with the game plan that Deebo Samuel is playing, and then you have the game plan of Deebo Samuel's not playing. I think that will still be enough to get them past the Detroit Lions. I think this Niners team is set to return to the Super Bowl again.
All right. Well, certainly Shanahan is the offensive mind, and he can strum up a certain amount of plays with Deebo or without Deebo, because when he was out in that game last weekend in the divisional round, it really hurt their offense in the moment. Third down, we got a second meeting alert. Jim Harbaugh is set to meet for the second time with the Los Angeles Chargers. Is this a fit for both sides?
You know, I think it is, and now I don't know what the back and forth it is. I think because when you look at Jim Harbaugh, who's kind of been like a dictator in his last 2 situations with the Niners and then with Michigan, he wants everything to be done a certain way. But I think this is a far gone conclusion. I think you're going to see Jim Harbaugh in the Chargers locker room as their head coach. It's only now probably just finishing out the little minute details of contracts and who gets to run things and personnel and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, we'll be looking forward to it. I have some rapid fire bonus questions. Of course, I think you know where this is going. I'll state the game. You give me the winner. Kansas City and Baltimore. Who you got?
My heart wants to tell me the Baltimore Ravens, but my head say never underestimate the heart of a champion in the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the weakest roster Patrick Mahomes had since he's been in the National Football League, and he still has found himself in the AFC Championship game. But I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to say that the Baltimore Ravens defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
Okay. You were swinging one way, and I was like, ooh, maybe I'm just going to be both on double sides of this. On the other side of the country, the NFC, we just discussed it. San Francisco against the Detroit Lions. What is your pick, Jesse Holley?
What an incredible story of the Detroit Lions, right? Dan Campbell, the Motor City Dan, fighting Dan Campbell's, and the way that franchise has been built from the ground up. Talk about building a franchise. But I think this is the Niners' time to return to the Super Bowl and try to redeem themselves with actually winning it this time. So I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers with or without Deebo Samuels.
Well, I'm going to say the Dan Campbells, the Motor City fighting Dan Campbells, however you coined it. I think that they are punching their ticket to Las Vegas. I do think it's their year. I mean, listen, we all love a feel-good story, but that's my pick for this upcoming weekend. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. Coming up next, we're wrapping up the season for the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers. Stay right there. Well, the Buffalo Bills once again lost the playoff game on a wide right field goal. Two of the most devastating words in Western New York. I'm sorry, that's just how the game went. This time it was in the divisional round against the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen has been to the conference or the divisional round in each of the last 5 years, but nothing more. To wrap up the Bills season, let's hear from Mookie Hawkins and Justice Radford from the Bleav in Bills podcast.
Thanks, Courtney. Despite a ton of injuries, an up and down season, the Buffalo Bills finished strong, winning 7 straight, but they were not good enough to get it done this year as they fought the Kansas City Chiefs. However, strong showing from the offense. You're getting a ton of veterans back on defense. You're getting healthy next year. What are you looking for from this Buffalo team next year?
Well, they got some great core pieces returning, especially on the offensive side with Allen, Diggs. James Cook had a great season this year. Shakur flashed that wide receiver, and then impressive rookie performance from Dalton Kincaid. On the flip side of things, the defense will take the biggest hit. Not sure of the futures of your two other safeties in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. You do get Trey White and Matt Milano back, but, a strong finish putting together 7 straight wins en route to their 4th straight AFC East title. For more off-season coverage, make sure you subscribe to Bleav in Bills podcast, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Bills. Back to you, Courtney.
And that is the big question. Does Joe Brady get the offensive coordinator job full-time next year, or do they go shopping for another candidate? I do think the Bills will lose a few key pieces on both offense and defense, like Micah Hyde, who sounds like he's wrapping up shop with Bills Mafia on social media, and Stephon Diggs. He was not the same player that he was when it came down to crunch time. And not only that, Khalil Shakir out of Boise State had as much production as Diggs in the late stretch of the season. I don't think they have to do anything too drastic. I am for keeping Sean McDermott as head coach for another year, but they're going to have to hit on a lot of free agent candidates in the offseason. The Green Bay Packers took a 7-point lead into the 4th quarter against the 49ers, but were unable to finish them off. But there is a lot of positives the Packers can build on in 2024, and that's to say the least. To wrap up the season for the Packers, let's hear from Mike Wall from the On My Block podcast.
Thanks, Courtney. And the Packers lost to the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round 24-21 in a game that was much more competitive than I think anybody outside of Wisconsin would have imagined. They have created such momentum going into the offseason. So what are 3 things to look for in the next coming months? Number 1, what are the Packers going to do at the defensive coordinator position? This Packers defense has underperformed for the last couple of years. Joe Barry's been on the hot seat for a long time. Matt LaFleur might determine that there's time for a new voice in that room. It'll be interesting to see what happens there over the next couple of weeks. Number 2, Aaron Jones' contract is a $17 million cap hit in 2024. Now, he took a $5 million pay cut last year to stay with his team. He is undeniably the most dangerous player in the room. That'll be interesting, especially at 29 years old going into the 2024 season. And then number 3, free agency. If they can create a little wiggle room, do they go after a big-time free agent offensive lineman or big-time free agent safety, really upgrade that position? Check out the On My Block podcast. You want to get news on the Packers or anything that's going on in the National Football League, these playoffs for the rest of the year. Thanks, and back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, great point. What happens with Aaron Jones? Can they afford to keep them? In terms of the other sides of the offense, all 6 receivers that are on the 53-man roster are under contract. And Jordan Love, what can you say about him? Incredible. Just based on the groundwork that they have laid this season. All is good in the Packers hood. Up next, I'm breaking down the conference championship games in our key game segment. First up, let's take a look at the NFC Conference Championship game where the Detroit Lions will head to San Francisco to battle the 49ers. The Lions kept their magical season going with a huge win at home against the LA Rams in the divisional round. To find out what the Lions need to do to get to the Super Bowl, fingers crossed here, let's hear from Jack Kavanaugh and Glover Quinn from the Bleav in Lions podcast. Guys, what's the game plan for Detroit?
Thanks, Courtney. Glover, the Lions are headed to the NFC Championship. It is a great time to be a Detroit Lions fan. As a former player, what does this mean to you heading to San Francisco in the NFC Championship?
Man, it means a lot. You know what I'm saying? It means a lot to know that you've been a part of the organization. You've been in that meeting room. You've been on that field. You've tried to set a standard.
What are you going to be looking for in this matchup with the San Francisco 49ers?
The Lions need to focus on the Lions. They need to focus on their preparation and being the best that they can be. Doesn't matter who shows up for San Francisco. If you prepare and you play to the best of your ability, then you're okay with how the game goes. You don't want to leave that field feeling like we didn't play our best game.
The Lions get an epic victory and push their ticket to the Super Bowl. Back to you, Courtney.
All right, thank you guys. I really appreciate the insight, and I agree. Detroit must play their best game to walk away with the win, but that's statistically rather easy for this Jared Goff-led offense. To the other side of the ball now, where San Francisco is expected to be in this game, seeing that they've spent most of the weeks on everyone's power rankings at the top this season. To find out if this stacked 49ers team can ruin the feel-good story, which is the Detroit Lions, let's hear from Tracy Sandler and Matt Sims from the Tracy Sandler Show. Tracy, what can we expect from this Niners team on Sunday?
Thank you, Courtney. I'm here with Matt Sims, co-host of the Sims Complete podcast, to talk a little NFC Championship game between the Lions and the 49ers. And Matt, we got some high-quality coaching in this game.
Coaching is absolutely going to be the difference in this one, and I can't wait for that Kyle Shanahan offense, that brain trust that they have there on that side of the football. Will Kyle and their offense be able to attack on the outside a little bit more consistently than we've ever really seen them this entire year? Because that's the weakness of their defense.
And let's quickly talk a little bit of quarterbacking. We saw Brock Purdy struggle a little bit, but when he needed to, he leads a game-winning drive. And then Jared Goff is, of course, one of the great NFL stories this year. Which one of these two has the advantage?
Ooh, well, you have to go with Brock just because he is home, right? But at the same time, what I love about both of these quarterbacks, I mean, can they go through enough adversity in their careers? These guys are awesome. They're the best.
This is going to be a really tough matchup. But listen all week to the Tracy Sandler Show, and that's what we got for you. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Tracy. I agree. The matchup between the Niners offense and the Lions defense is the key to this game. The Niners are better coached, but the intangibles, the heart and the gut of this Detroit Lions team, I'm calling the Lions win and a move on to the Super Bowl for Detroit. How about that? Who's with me on this one? Next up is the AFC Conference Championship game, where Pat Mahomes will lead the Kansas City Chiefs into Baltimore to face the number 1 seeded Ravens. Patrick Mahomes won his first playoff road game in Buffalo last weekend, proving that the location matters not to this team. To find out what the Chiefs need to do to upset the Ravens at home, let's hear from Jason Dunn and Marcus Dash from the Chief Concerns podcast. Guys, what can we expect from Kansas City this week?
Thanks, Courtney. Mahomes holds a 3-1 record against the Ravens in regular season play with 12 touchdown passes to go along with 119.1 passer rating in such contests. Last time he met the Ravens in Week 2 of the 2021 season, when he threw for 343 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. JD, Chiefs are a 3.5-point underdog. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, so Marcus, I believe that we got enough guys in the room to do it. Number 10, Isaiah Pacheco has in the last 2 games over 39 carries for 186 yards. Travis Kelce, who's been a very big part of what we've been doing. Our young wide receiver in Rashee Rice, catching 12 balls for 177 yards for an average of 14.7. And of course, our guy, Patrick Mahomes, if you know who I'm talking about, the best quarterback in football. He's going to be the one at the helm, leading the Chiefs to a victory.
Yeah, and hopefully we're going to be talking about a Super Bowl preview featuring the Chiefs and 49ers or Detroit Lions. I don't know, but I like our chances either way, JD. That does it for us. Back to you, Courtney.
Love and appreciate the insight from our Chief Concerns, guys. Thank you so much. I agree. The combination of Pacheco, Kelce, and Rice is going to be the key in this Chiefs win. Here is my one concern, though. The offense without a completely healthy Rashee Rice. Mahomes is always the X factor. He really is. So that is my opinion on how this offense will be run on Sunday. The Ravens won big last weekend, taking down the Texans in style. Lamar Jackson reminded everyone just how good he really is by throwing for 2 touchdowns and adding 2 more on the ground. To find out how the Ravens punch their ticket to Vegas, let's hear from Daniel Wilcox and Kyrie Thompson from the Bleav in Ravens podcast. Guys, what's the game plan for the Ravens?
Thanks a lot, Courtney. It is going to be a battle between 2 of the baddest men in the National Football League coming up this weekend for the AFC title. Lamar Jackson Patrick Mahomes. The question is going to be, can he make it work against the Ravens defense, which continues to prove that it is the best in the league. They have talent all over the place. They've got a mutant in Kyle Hamilton that can cover Travis Kelce. So it's going to be real interesting. On the other side of things, look, man, Lamar Jackson made history. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, 100 yards rushing, 100 passer rating or above. What do you think he's going to do this weekend?
I think it's absolutely over for the Kansas City Chiefs, Courtney. The Baltimore Ravens are at home at M&T Bank Stadium. You got to come into our place. Everything goes through Baltimore right now. It's our turn.
Lamar Jackson playing on another level, and I suspect we're going to see it again in the championship game. Back to you, Courtney.
Thanks, guys. Yes, I agree. Lamar Jackson is playing on another level. But can he do it against an experienced Chiefs defense with very high Super Bowl caliber experience as well? Well, who listens to the statistics? Because Lamar Jackson, he wants to break all of them. And their defense is making some of the best open field tackles I've seen by most teams in this NFL season. Defense wins championships. That's the method to this year's Super Bowl madness. Baltimore punches their ticket to Vegas. Boom, let's go. Those are my key games for the conference championship round. Next up in Pick 6, we'll be breaking down some of our key prop bets of the weekend. Okay, it's time to play Pick 6 on the game plan. And during the playoffs, we will be looking at 6 of the hottest prop bets on the market. To help me break down which side of these bets that you should be on, we will be joined now by Kate Constable from the Bringing Home the Hardware podcast. Kate, you ready to play Pick 6 with me?
Yeah, good to be back with you, Courtney.
Good to see you as well. All right, your first one that's on the board is Travis Kelce over under 63.5 receiving yards. What do you think?
I'm going to take the over on this one, Courtney. Travis Kelce has averaged just over 65.5 receiving yards on the season. He's gone over this number in both playoff games so far and throughout his career. He's averaging over 84 receiving yards per game in the postseason. He's also had 5 receptions in each of his last 12 playoff games. So if he's catching that many passes, I think he's going to have plenty of yards. So I will take the over 63.5 for Kelce.
Okay, number 2, you have Patrick Mahomes here with the over-under on his passing attempts at 37.5. To me, it seems a little high. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that is a little high. 37.5. I'm going to take the under for Mahomes passing attempts. He's stayed under in 4 straight road games, 5 of his 8 games away from Arrowhead this season. And the Ravens this year, top 5 in the league during the regular season in terms of time of possession. And that's kind of the game script against the Chiefs and beating Patrick Mahomes is just to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands as much as possible. Plus, teams have had more success running the ball on the Ravens defense than they have passing. So I think that might lead to a few less passing attempts than we're used to for Patrick Mahomes this weekend.
Speaking of the Chiefs running game, is Isaiah Pacheco, another breakout year for the Chiefs running back. His over-under on his rushing attempts is 14.5. What do you think about this one? Over-under, Kate, for Pacheco.
So I'm going to take the over on Pacheco's rushing attempts at 14.5. Since week 15, the Ravens are giving up the 6th fewest rushing attempts to opposing backs, but Pacheco's gone over this number in 3 straight games, 7 of his last 8 games. And if the Chiefs are up late, which I certainly think that they could be, they're going to want to keep the ball on the ground. That's going to be in Pacheco's hands. Plus, Chiefs receivers, we all know that they've just kind of been mediocre this year. Again, maybe leading to more heavily relying on the run game. So taking the over on Pacheco's attempts.
All right, switching gears to the big NFC game. Huge game, 49ers and the Lions. Let's start with the 49ers offense and Brock Purdy. His over-under for passing attempts is set at 29.5. What do you think about this one?
I'm going to take the over for Purdy's passing attempts. Teams have been able to throw all over the Lions secondary this season. That's not going to be any different this weekend. Now, Purdy is only averaging just over 27 attempts during the regular season, but he finished with 37 last week against the Packers. And with Detroit's run defense being as good as it is, I think we see a lot of short little kind of dump off screen passes, maybe even to Christian McCaffrey to get him involved as a receiving back. And that's going to lead to this over hitting for Brock Purdy to go over 29.5 passing attempts.
Okay, well, speaking of Christian McCaffrey, over under 89.5 rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey Kate, what do you think about this one?
This is kind of a bold, scary take, but I'm going to take the under on his rushing yards. Detroit's been the worst matchup for opposing backs this season. The Lions' pass defense, on the other hand, is really bad. So I think that's where the 49ers are going to try and target Detroit. I think McCaffrey, like I mentioned, might be used a little bit more as a pass-catching back in this game. That's also going to help keep his rushing yards a little bit lower. So going to take the under here on 89.5.
Final one on our pick six is the great Jared Goff. He has been on fire, and his over-under for his passing yards is set rather low, 263.5 passing yards. Do you think that Goff eclipses this mark for this championship game on Sunday?
Yeah, I actually do think Jared Goff stays under this number for his passing yards. He has hit this in 5 of his last 6 games. But since the bye week in week 9 for San Francisco, the Niners have only allowed 2 quarterbacks to throw for more yards. And if you like the Niners, the game script probably suggests that the Lions are going to be playing from behind, and therefore Goff will be throwing quite a bit. But I happen to think that Detroit can keep this game close, and I think it's going to utilize its run game with its two-headed monster of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery quite a bit in this one. The Niners' run defense a little bit more suspect than its pass defense. So I'm going to take Jared Goff to stay under 263.5 passing yards.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much, Kate, for being on the show. We appreciate it. You heard it here first. Our pick six plans from Kate Constable. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have on the game plan today. Go check out the Bleav Podcast Network for more in-depth analysis on every team in the league. And also, don't forget, you can catch every NFL game live on Reach TV all season long. We'll see you next week.